Hey guys, welcome to Always number 60. Okay. Blake and I are just going to sit here for a few minutes. This is the middle of August. School's starting back. Hunting season is coming up next month for certain little items or animals. And we just wanted to touch base with you and give you our thoughts on how to make it an easy, quick, and prosperous transition.
Yeah. Right now, kids are going back to school. So now's the time when they're buying up all of your grade school stuff and etc. Immediately after this, 1st of September, that's a really good time for you to go to the Goodwills. Now, if you live near some tourist whatever, like down here we got Panama City and all those places. One of those unwritten things is, like down here in Panama City, during the summer, if you stay in any of the hotels down there, if you leave something in a room, forget something in the elevator, whatever, they hold on to it. Just in case you're going to call back up and say, hey, did you find my fishing rod or whatever. But September 1, they quit. And so that's when they go to the Goodwill in Panama City and they dump anything that's been left in a hotel room. And so that's every couple of years me and my wife go down there, and I have found really expensive fishing gear. I have found jackets, leather bomber jackets. I have found all kinds of stuff at dirt cheap price because whoever left it got on a plane and didn't think to ever try to get it back or whatever.
Not only is it just Panama City, it's Destin, it's Fort Walton, it's Pensacola.
It's any of the tourist places.
Yeah.
They hold them in the hotels till about the 1st of September and then they're going to let it go. So if you've got little ones and you're looking for hand-me-down clothes, because you ain't got a lot of money, and I'm not necessarily talking about church clothes or whatever, but, you know.
School clothes,
work clothes, whatever. About middle of September is the time to go check out the Goodwills and stuff, because that's when the people that bought all new clothes have dumped the clothes into the Goodwill system, and you get a better selection. You got a better chance of finding what you need of working clothes for the kids to be able to get out and play clothes is what we call them. And gear and stuff like that. So that's a good time to go look.
There's a video running around on YouTube right now talking about the prospect of a very hard winter in the eastern third of the country. Now would be a great time to go and rummage through and get those heavy-duty coats that the kids are going to need.
Yeah.
To go in and buy the long handles.
The ladies over at the surplus place have got all the long underwear already indexed out by sizes.
Matter of fact, when he and I were over there the end of last week, they had a brand new pallet. I mean, literally like a 6-foot, 4x4 pallet of nothing but long underwear.
Yeah. And now's the time to get it. We're a little early yet. Every year I do a video in the fall talking about now's the time to gather for your tender bunners. You know, to make your dry tender to last it through. We're a little early yet. But I'm seeing signs of a unusual winter, strong winter. I've just pointed out to him a minute or two ago, the great big Japanese spiders. We normally don't see them down here till mid-September. Something like that. Now they're popping up everywhere.
Yeah, right over here.
Yeah.
On the side of the barn, we've got like a 4-foot orb.
Yeah.
There's one over here that's about 3 feet.
And it's usually in the years that have very cold winters. Early winters, you know. And now they're predicting, like you're saying, that there's going to be an Arctic front move down and kind of just sit in the Midwest for weeks or weeks and weeks.
I don't remember the particulars about the video, but if you go back and look, it's a map of the United States with the heat divisions across the entire eastern half of the country is
15 to 20 degrees below
Yeah.
normal.
Blues, whites, and purples,
Yeah,
okay? Down into Florida.
yeah.
You guys down around Orlando?
They were showing low temperatures. And that was the thing. Last night when I looked at midnight, it was 78 degrees here. And I looked up in northern Kentucky where Trinity is at, and it was 61 at that moment. Oh, what I would do for 61 degrees right now.
61 would be great.
Oh my God.
The humidity's been down here too the last several days, which
Is a
adds
blessing to us.
Yeah, it's a blessing, but it adds to that feeling of concern that, you know, it could get cold quick.
Well, I mentioned in my live the other day that we have talked about in the past that it just seems to be, of course, there's no, script here, but it seems to be that the years that we had a wet, cold winter where it alternates between rainy and cold like we just had in this winter, we always have a very active hurricane season. And then we normally have a cold snap in September.
Right.
And it'll be cool for several weeks, and then it'll warm up, and it'll be a warmer beginning in November, 1st of December, and then we have a bone-chilling cold in January and February and March, and winter kind of drags late. We will see, but that seems to be the pattern that I've seen most of my life.
Yeah, generally speaking, long-term forecasts are sketchy. They really are.
It's a guess.
The farther you get out, the sketchier it gets.
Best they can really predict is about 48 hours out with about a 60 to 70% chance of success. When you start looking at these things where they're figuring it's going to be 8 months out or whatever, forget it. Which tickles, I remember when Al Gore was on the TV in the 1980s telling us that we'd have 2-mile thick icebergs in Ohio by the year 2000. That another ice age was coming.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, but they were, we got to do all this stuff because the world's going to freeze. We have no choice. And then about in the mid-90s, they flipped the script, and now everything's going to be too hot. And yes, we've had a very warm in many parts of the country. I'm not trying to dissuade that. But at the same time, they've had record cold in south part of the world where they have winter, we have summer. So Australia, all of lower Africa, all of lower South America, they're having record cold snaps down there.
The plane, thoughts and prayers for the victims' families that just crashed in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard through news sources that they're blaming that on icing in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Well, they're in dead winter right now.
They're also right on the top of the equator.
Yeah, and so they may have climbed up and ran into ice cold conditions. That's a problem with aircraft, especially you read a lot of reports from World War II. We didn't know a lot of this yet. I mean, airplanes were only 20, 30 years old at that time. And never had we done such massive amounts of air stuff. And there were reports of planes would be taken off and it'd be in the 50s or 60s. And they would climb up and they'd get up at about 1,000, 2,000 feet and they would ice up in midair.
Yeah, that's when they invented the de-icing boot.
Yeah, they had to de-ice them because otherwise it would make it hard to come in and land because there'd be up there was an unusually cold, unusually moist area, and there was aluminum skin planes. Ice would just form on them and like an old ice tray that we had when we were kids.
Yeah.
Nothing ever made ice as well as those aluminum ice trays.
That's true.
Them plastics were disposable, but those aluminum were better.
You can still get those aluminum
I know.
things from Lehman's.org.
Yeah, I had to lift the pry bar and bust the ice.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of ice for those things. Yeah, I always knew whenever my stepmother was going to have people over on the weekend, because usually about Wednesday she started telling me to start making ice. And so I was.
And you always had that bucket in the corner of the freezer.
We had a separate freezer, and that was one of the real small, little bitty deep freezers. Mm-hmm. And stacked up on the entire right-hand side was vegetables, and on the left-hand side was like it was 2 5-gallon buckets put together where they'd cut the bottom out of the one inside, so it made it like an extra 10-inch tall 5-gallon bucket. And she would want me to crack ice into that thing as many times a day as I could make ice. And I knew they were going to be making daiquiris or something this weekend. She wanted a ton of ice. So that was back in the day.
Well, like we said, this is the middle of August, which is kind of hard to believe, but with September comes dove season, and I think quail and squirrel may be in October.
Quail and squirrel, I think squirrel comes in, and rabbit comes in September.
Yeah, toward the end there.
And I spoke about in our last video talking about it, that one before last, that I was shocked this year when I got the regulations book that catfish are not considered a game fish anymore.
Yeah.
That no limit, get all you want. It's like, wow. So.
And yes, you can put them in a smoker and smoke them.
Yes, we talked about that. You can cook them and smoke them and prepare them. So that's not a bad way to go. But, you know, we're at a transition time right now coming out of the heat. Those of you that are up north, especially our friends way up yonder in Canada and Alaska, if it's going to be a cold winter, y'all might want to get your larder set up now. Get your tire changed, get your tires that you need, whatever it is you need in deep cold winters. Because you never know when we're going to have one of the really bad ones like we had in 77, 78. I remember talking about that one with Dan Lutz, who remembered it. That's when the snow drifts were so deep. In the place he was at in Ohio, they were as tall as a telephone pole. And he showed me a picture that I guess his mother had took of him standing on top of a telephone pole, and it was sticking about 4 inches out of the snow.
Yeah, that's one of those times you come and go out the second floor windows.
Yeah.
When I was driving the truck, I was out in Wyoming and Utah and that area of the world in the wintertime, and I didn't even know there was a 8-foot fence on the side of the interstate until spring.
Yeah.
It was that deep. The drifts were that deep.
I've been out there where you're on a road that ain't been plowed or nothing like that, and the snow is 2 foot deep on the road. And the only way you knew where you were going was there was a fence.
Yeah. And
you kind of centered up between the two fences and just hoped the road didn't take a curve where the fence, you know.
Yep.
It just, you stayed in the middle, and I remember my front bumper was pushing snow. I had a flatbed, and I had a lot of weight on it, and I was trying to get to a place in, I think it was Montana, and the blizzard had come through the day before and dumped all this snow, and they had, quote, opened the road back up. And I got back in there, and you know, when it was the turn off here, you know, there was two fences going into snow. As far as you could see was snow.
Yeah.
And so the road I was on had been plowed, but this one hadn't. And when I got on it, it was only about that deep on the road. And as I kept going, I'd feel a bumper hit, and I kept thinking, I'm going to get centered up out here. But they said that everything was going to melt in the next few days, so I was not terribly worried about being snowbound. And I had to go like 34 miles up that road. And I remember my daddy talking about it back in the 50s, saying you just center up, dead center between the two fences, and just assume you're on a road. And if you get lucky, where you start feeling that bump, where you're hitting the markers, and you can keep the driver's tire hitting the marker, you know. And I was doing that. It's broad daylight, and I was going bump, stay in the middle. I'm going, please, dear Lord, don't turn 90 degrees. Because you come up, and this fence kept going straight, and that fence turned. And like, does it go straight, or does it go that way?
Is this my tee to the right?
Yeah, do I turn right, or do I just keep going straight? And you ease up and ease. I rocked at one place for about 5 minutes till I felt kind of start going down. Okay, that's a ditch. You know, back up. And I kind of, okay, it does. And it didn't turn 90 degrees, but it did kind of turn like that. It was a curve.
Yeah.
And I went on down it, and I could see where I was going. I'm going, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, please.
Did you ever find the seat cushion?
No. I suck that sucker up to Texas. We're good. Oh, but yeah, fun days back on the rig, back when we didn't have cell phones or nothing else.
No GPS.
No GPS. You were just on your own when you were out here.
Yeah. Back to the hunting season.
Yep,
You know, shotguns are gonna be your primary.
yep,
Make sure you got the right ammunition. Now's the time. It hasn't been jacked up in price.
yep.
They'll, closer into the 1st of September, the prices will start to miraculously go up.
Mm-hmm.
Get your stuff while you can.
Now is not the time to buy new hunting clothing and stuff
No,
because they've jacked the price up. The time to buy new hunting clothing, it will be like March, April, because that's when it's coming out of season. That's when they're gonna have the new patterns coming in or whatever, and you can, like Sportsman's Guide and stuff like that. That's when you buy next year's new hunting clothing.
right.
And need a pack or something like that, get it then.
Of course, I've got to ask the question. You know, you go back, look back in old magazines,
Mm-hmm.
and your hunters are wearing red plaid
Yes,
and blue jeans or khakis.
yeah,
Why not?
we did. I hunted in blue jeans with an Army field jacket, plain green,
And a blue flannel shirt or a red flannel shirt.
and a baseball cap, you know. I don't know. I remember them putting on a big push about having to wear orange because I remember being at a deer hunt
Yeah.
and a family member coming out and handing out caps. That everybody had to wear a cap because it was law. None of us had it orange.
Didn't know what it was.
I had never seen this.
You know, that
And-
didn't come out till about the time we graduated high school.
Yeah, because I just remember they come through and they said, you have to wear it. And so we all had to wear the caps. And then at the end of it, we had to turn the cap back in. And so I remember you go into the feed shed and there was a stack of baseball caps, orange baseball caps.
Yeah.
And so the family would come in and do hunts and stuff like that. And I remember I had to wear it when we did hunter safety in high school. And that definitely when that was 83, you had to have it then, I know. So, man, times have changed. My original hunter safety card, I still got it somewhere where it's handwritten. And it's just a Xerox piece of orange paper is all it is. That was my original card. Got it at high school ROTC. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, get your field load now. Wouldn't be a bad idea to get buckshot and slugs for deer season.
Yeah.
Bow season, if I remember right, comes in
Mid-October.
Mid-October. If you're into bows, I used to be. Got pretty good at them. I have not bow hunted in a long time because of my shoulders. Probably like he was talking the other night in the live. I was using a bow that was too strong,
Yeah.
and it strained my shoulders.
I was shooting an Oneida Eagle when they first came out, and they were way overpowered.
Yeah.
Because that bow was designed for you to shoot grizzlies and big dangerous game. It wasn't meant for whitetails or nothing.
Right.
And that first year, they advertised it was 600 feet per second out of an arrow. And they told you never put a wooden arrow in it. They kind of invented carbon arrows because of this. And I started out with aluminum arrows, and you might get 3 shots before it warped them. It's
Yes.
bad.
I've seen them. The knock on the end of the arrow. I've seen them where they pushed the knock up in and
Yeah.
made a bulb out of the end of the arrow shaft.
It was such a violent acceleration.
Or, you know, they call that the archer's paradox.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when what you're doing when you let go of that string is you're compressing that arrow.
That arrow bow.
Yeah, lengthwise, you're compressing it, and the paradox is it finding its zero and getting back into it.
Mm-hmm. It bends around the handle and it kind of porpoises back straight.
The problem is with his bow, it didn't straighten.
After a couple, they'd start going left right because
Yeah.
it was so much. You couldn't see that arrow when you shot after about 75, 80 yards. You couldn't see it in the air. It was moving so fast. I mean, 600 feet per second. That's like 38 special target loads. And it would blow right through a whitetail. I've had to put big, heavy copperhead, or what was that, the Buckmaster heads on it, that were like a 135 grams. Really, it was meant for moose and stuff. But I never shot a deer, and that thing didn't either fully penetrate, usually wrecking the arrow and completely tearing the fletchings off of it.
Would that be about the time that they invented the expanding arrowhead?
Along in there is when they started coming to market.
Yeah, because you were getting a lot of deer that were hurt, terminally hurt, but would get away. And they had run for 2 or 3 miles and dropped dead.
Yeah.
Well, those big expandable heads, most times they would hit the ground. Right after they got hit by the arrow, they would hit the ground, or shortly, within just a few yards, go down.
I shot a 6-point, and it hit it in the spine, completely penetrated through the spine, through the bone. Came out the other side, the razor blades ripped off in impact into that hunk of bone. The shaft and the center point come on out and curved, and when the deer fell forward onto his face on the right hand side, it was sticking out the length of his left leg. And we still harpooned the back end of the knot was still in his spine when I walked up. And when I saw the leg, you grab the leg and go to bow over. I grabbed the leg when I went to do that. That tip of that broadhead nearly caught me in the nose, because I wasn't expecting it underneath the leg. And whenever we got done butchering it, and I'm looking, and in the spine was what was left of that razor blade where it just grenaded when it hit it. You know, it was way over powerful, and you could scale it down, and I finally did scale it down as far as I could do. And then the very next year, the one they brought out was a lot less powerful.
I think that Alabama says 40, 45 pounds.
40 to 45 pounds is all you need, and if you're going to be shooting 25, 30 yards, it's all you need.
Yeah.
Good broadhead, too much firepower, and over penetration is a big thing. I want it to harpoon in, penetrate to all the necessary components, stay in him, so if he does run, it's bouncing and sawing in the meat, doing more damage.
Right.
And if it just goes zip straight through him, did it have time to open up? You know, that's the question.
Did it have time to do any damage, any significant damage?
Other than a through and through, and that's the question. I've always preferred, I want to leave the arrow stuck in him. It makes a bigger blood trail. He's smacking things as he's running with it. That's doing more damage on the inside. I'm sacrificing an arrow. And for a while there, I had a little plaque that had 18 broadheads on it, because it was 18 there in a row I'd got. And then I missed one. Well, I didn't miss. I was using a hickory longbow, and it was a doe, and she was running, because we were running dogs, and she was running at me, and I snapped shot, and she was coming straight at me, and I aimed at her breastbone. And when I shot, she jumped at that moment, and it went straight underneath her. It hit her tail, and she ran off with that broadhead sticking through her tail.
That sounds like my luck.
It just, she was in the process of taking a leap as I launched, and she never saw me, and she leaped to go over something, and it hooked her tail. She had her tail tucked.
But yeah, this is the golden time.
Oh yeah.
Get ready. This is the run up to the start of fall hunting season. And do that. Get the things that you need now while they're cheap. Well, inexpensive.
Mm-hmm. Before season makes it more expensive.
Do that. If you need a good knife, get you a good knife.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to, invest in a William Collins.
Right.
We both absolutely swear by them.
Yep. And if you have not taken the time to learn about how to butcher an animal, now's the time. There are books out there. I recommend every library for a survival set have a book on how to butcher game. All the little details in there, because if you've never butchered an armadillo before, or never butchered a hog before, or never butchered one of these things, and you get an opportunity, you get a shot, and you killed and butchered 50 deer, but you've never yet killed a hog and done it, better to have the knowledge now, at least have a book I can go read for a few minutes, get an idea, than it is to just blindly start cutting.
Yeah, there's a gland up here in the hip, in that fat pocket, that you got to get out. Okay,
It's going to taste bad.
or it's going to taint the meat. But you can also go type in your state .extension.us.
US Gov, I think.
Yeah, .us.gov, something like that, and it will pull up your state's extension service, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of pamphlets available free to answer your questions.
Yep, which would be a good thing to do. Well, anything else, brother?
I think for right now we're done.
Cool. All right, tell them bye, and we'll go ride and go do. We're gonna, after this, for Wayz number 61, you're gonna see us again, because it's getting close to sundown. We're gonna go down here and sneak around the edge of the field and take an early look, see about hogs and stuff like that. So,
Anyways, guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that little bell icon. And with that, Blake and I will see you down the road.